Caution, this video contains spoilers. Alexandra Daddario reveals that her sexy scene in The White Lotus was all about revenge. Jordan Peele confesses what weird piece of movie memorabilia he owns. Nicolas Cage reveals Face Off 2 plot details, and more. Make sure to keep watching until the end of the video to make sure you're not missing out. So let's begin. First up, Alexandra Daddario reveals her sexy scene in The White Lotus was about revenge. Alexandra Daddario went in depth about the scene in which her character, Rachel Patton, tries to get into a conversation with Brittany O'Grady's Paula and Sydney Sweeney's Olivia Mossbacher, only to be mocked passive-aggressively by the younger women. That is, until Daddario gets up to take off her polka-dotted cover-up, revealing her toned body and shocking the teenagers. This particular scene is actually very representative of the show as a whole, where extremely privileged tourists stay at one of the titular's resort chain's locations and find that their lives are collapsing in some way or another. While played out without overt conflict, the interaction between Daddario, O'Grady, and Sweeney is deeply antagonistic all the same, with the irony being that the teenagers are much wealthier than Rachel, who only recently married into money and is still struggling with her feelings about it. Yet her trump card turns out to be the exact thing that the two younger women are implying, that her physical beauty is what gives her value. Talking with Men's Journal, Daddario explained that the much talked about scene is about revenge and a constant power struggle. The show's all about this constant power struggle between all different types of people. It's animal instinct, the actor added. Unfortunately, season 2 of The White Lotus will move to Sicily, where Jennifer Coolidge will be the only returning star. But who knows, maybe Daddario will make a return to the show in a future season because we wouldn't mind seeing more of her. Next up, Jordan Peele confesses what weird piece of movie memorabilia he owns. The mastermind behind Get Out and Nope, Jordan Peele, is apparently an avid collector of strange movie memorabilia. The acclaimed filmmaker recently made an appearance on The Late Night with Seth Meyers, where he had the opportunity to discuss his upcoming streaming series, Lost Rider: A Chronicle of Hollywood Sacrifice. While on the subject, Peele was prompted to mention that he owns the prosthetic ear that was worn by Corey Feldman in Stand By Me, which was released back in 1986. Peele and Feldman worked together on Peele's upcoming series, and after Peele told his host that The Lost Rider: A Chronicle of Hollywood Sacrifice event would also include Stand By Me and Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Meyers reminded Peele that the actor had mentioned Corey during his previous appearance on the talk show. The filmmaker then announced that he now has a new friendship with Corey Feldman and continued to explain how he came into the possession of the prosthetic ear that Corey wore when he portrayed Teddy in the 1986 adaptation of the novella The Body, which was written by Stephen King. There was a whole thing where he was auctioning the ear he wore as Teddy on Stand By Me, and I guess I very creepily bought it, Peele admitted to Meyers. Luckily, Corey got a kick out of it when Peele told him that he'd acquired the artificial ear and was actually quite thrilled to learn that it was Peele who won the prosthetic and not somebody else. Understandably, Peele is absolutely over the moon with his new friendship. Do you think it's weird that Peele has the prosthetic ear? And now, an absolute horror icon has passed away. Owen Roizman, the 5-time Academy Award-nominated cinematographer who was responsible for shooting classics such as The Exorcist and Tootsie, has died. The news was announced by a spokesperson for the American Society of Cinematographers in a statement on Twitter, which read that Roizman, who was 86 at the time of his passing, had been battling an undisclosed illness. The news came on the heels of the news of the death of Earl Boen, another industry icon. When Roizman was younger, he wasn't interested in pursuing a career in Hollywood at all, even though his father was a cameraman, until he heard about the possible wages that the industry offers, at which point Roizman became money-hungry and changed his mind. Subsequently, Roizman spent his summer breaks working in a camera rental store in New York City, where he later became an assistant to cinematographer Gerald Hirschfield. Roizman made his feature film debut as a cinematographer with the 1970 drama Stop, which was directed by Bill Gunn, telling the story of 4 beautiful people, 2 strange marriages, and 1 murder. In case you're wondering why you've never heard of the movie, to this day, it has never been released. But it has had screenings at various museums and film societies. Roizman earned himself an Oscar nomination for his visuals in 1973's The Exorcist, which saw him reunite with William Friedkin to deliver what is arguably the most iconic movie the genre has in its offerings. Roizman retired after his work on 1995's French Kiss, but remained a presence in the industry until his death. Hold up, we have more to come. Next, Nicolas Cage has revealed Face Off 2 plot details. Why did Keanu Reeves turn down a role in Platoon? And James Cameron knows the fate of the Avatar series. Stay tuned for all the the details. Now let's continue. First up, Nicolas Cage has revealed Face Off 2 plot details. There has been a number of sequels to movies that were originally released in the 20th century, such as Avatar: The Way of Water and Top Gun: Maverick. You'd think the interest for sequels to movies that came out ages ago would be moderate, but this formula has proven to be very successful, as these sequels have gone on to break box office records. And according to MovieWeb, a sequel to another 1990s property is in the works. Nicolas Cage has opened up about what he thinks the plot of Face Off 2 should be, stating that he believes it is a sequel that offers the opportunity for a lot of twists, turns, and unpredictability. It's almost like if you factor in the idea of Offspring and Castor and Sean having children, and these children grow up, and it's not just the two, it's four of us ping-ponging and going at different levels, the actor said. Face Off 2 has reportedly already secured both John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, as well as director Adam Wingard, known for Godzilla vs. Kong. The original movie was a John Woo action movie that included the director's signature imagery, with a plot that followed an FBI agent portrayed by Travolta who is on the chase for a terrorist portrayed by Cage. They end up switching places by way of a face transplant, and the remainder of the movie sees the actors switching roles. Cage has now hinted that the sequels will include even more identity mayhem as the kids of both characters undergo the same procedure. Are you excited to hear about this sequel? Following, why did Keanu Reeves turn down a role in Platoon? These days, Keanu Reeves is an absolute legend, known for his iconic roles like Neo in The Matrix and John Wick in the John Wick franchise, making him one of the bloodiest actors of our day. So it's hard to imagine there was once a time when Reeves actually turned down roles for being too brutal, but it's true. Back in the day, Reeves was actually tapped to star in 1986's Platoon. The movie follows a young recruit named Charlie Taylor, who has just been shipped out into the Vietnam War to join the 25th Infantry Division near the Cambodian border, where he soon realizes that war is nothing like it's supposed to be when he is blamed for his platoon being ambushed when a night watchman is asleep. Taylor then gets injured and is sent back to base to recover, which is when he discovers the pot-smoking crew of Sergeant Elias, who probably would have benefited from having an actor like Reeves in the mix. But Reeves wasn't interested in the role and turned it down, stating that he didn't want to do violence. Reeves has clearly changed his mind since then, given the fact that he's now leading the man in one of the most brutal franchises conceivable. Platoon is still regarded as one of Oliver Stone's best moments, and it's unclear whether the movie would have been better with Reeves or not. But it's interesting to consider how much different the landscape of a movie might be when the lead role had been taken up by a different actor entirely. Do you think Reeves would have done a better job, or was Charlie Sheen ultimately the best choice for the role of Chris in Platoon? And now James Cameron reveals he knows the fate of the Avatar series. There was a lot more pressure on Avatar: The Way of the Water than there was on the original movie, as it was revealed by James Cameron that the sequel needed to become one of the highest grossing movies of all time just to break even. If the movie wasn't able to reach that final objective, it would have put the future of the entire franchise at risk of falling apart. Luckily, it seems like Avatar 2 has just about reached its break-even point, and Cameron has confidently stated that it seems like the momentum of the movie will allow it to break even in the days to come, so he'll have to make good on his promise and make all those other sequels that he's been talking about. The franchise started with the story of Jake Sully, who gets sent to Pandora with hopes of winning over the native blue creatures known as the Na'vi. He does this with the help of an avatar that looks just like the Na'vi, but Sully ends up turning his coat and decides with the Na'vi to repel the humans that are destroying the world's biological neural network with their mining. The Way of the Water picks up the story 15 years later when humans return to Pandora once again, this time to attempt to colonize the planet. So what else is going to happen in this franchise? 3 more movies are apparently in the works, and Cameron has revealed to Deadline that he's already filmed some scenes of the 4th movie and is even already working on the 6th and 7th movie. I know what I'm going to be doing the next 6 or 7 years, Cameron said. If only he would also give us a hint as to where it's going. Wouldn't that be nice? And that's a wrap. Do you think Alexandra Daddario's Rachel did the right thing to take those girls down a notch in The White Lotus? Thanks for watching, and see you next time.